Today's adventure takes us back to Georgia's Golden Isles, where tidal marshes, islands, and estuaries mesh with a thriving economic and social lifestyle unique to only this part of the world. Today, we'll share a story of discovery, how Corey and Tommy McGraw found an island peninsula, had an idea how to share it with others, and created a 4-star resort of which the quality and attention to detail is unmatched. We sell a lot of islands and a lot of lodges. What we rarely see are places like this, built like this, and executed to the level of perfection that we discovered here. What we also rarely see is an opportunity to so readily monetize a self-running resort for both cash flow and capital gain. For this property, this is just the beginning. You will quickly recognize how the wheels have been set in motion to create wealth for years to come. It's with great pleasure I welcome you to Cedar Lodge. Corey is an amazing woman, a mother of 3, an attorney, and highly successful entrepreneur. You will quickly see how her attention to detail and the high expectations of her staff and others permeate the culture of this resort. You're gonna like Corey.
So our main thought when we first were looking for a piece of property to do something like this was we wanted something that caught not only the coast but also the rural area of Golden Isles. So this piece of property was just perfect. The property is a complete peninsula. It's completely surrounded by water on both ends. The only thing connecting it to land is the entrance where you enter into. There is waterfront with the view of the Lanier Bridge that you can see from one of the fingers. It caught, you know, being out in the middle of nowhere, but also that coastal element that's so unique about the Golden Isles. So when we found this property, we just knew it was it. We knew this was the piece that this needed to be developed on. And from there, it grew and grew. So the vision when we started developing this place was to set it up from the get-go as to be a compound, like a family compound where families could come and have that outdoor experience away from everything, but still close enough that if you wanted to go grab dinner somewhere, you could do that. So the vision is to make this a resort, to make it a property that functions with all type of amenities, plenty of space to stay in, but also it could be utilized if you wanted to sell off those cabins, and then that owner of that cabin then short-term rental it while they're not utilizing it. The opportunities are endless.
The main venue is exceptionally well planned for events such as weddings. However, because of the great location, even more lucrative corporate events are the main focus, something most places could only hope to have. The existing management company and staff is well skilled at handling all of the aspects of bookings as well as hosting events.
So the original plan for the property was to just create a weddings and events venue, but since we've owned the property, that idea has just continued to grow and snowball into a much bigger picture than what we ever imagined it would be. So we are currently trying to transition from being categorized as a weddings and event venue to a resort. So that way there is much more opportunity for growth and revenue to come into the property. With the cabins, that allows us the opportunity to do that. And that was the original plan with the cabins, was to kind of gear away from just limiting ourselves to wedding and events to providing more of a family compound place for people to come and enjoy themselves as well as doing events. So we hired some of the best architects, contractors in the area because we knew that we needed that quality of work. When we first met with the architects, I specifically asked that the property be designed as if it had been here for many, many years. I did not want it to look like it was a brand new building that had just been thrown up. I wanted to make sure, we have the wood windows that are original to building, not these plastic. I wanted it to look like the building was here 100 years ago. So we tried to keep that in mind as we were picking colors, materials, and things like that. So The setup of the property, we dug ponds, so that way, one, it gives you the drainage that you need on this piece because you're right here on the water, but also gives you that extra ambiance when you're driving in. We also installed a bridge that connects, that runs between the two separate ponds to give you that ambiance and that feeling. We chose, again, materials for the exterior of the venue that are natural to the area. So we chose cedar trunks as your columns when you're entering up on the front steps. We chose colors that complemented the natural colors that you see out here in the trees and the various plants. The plants that we chose, we made sure we chose plants that are natural to the property and not something that you wouldn't see growing wildly in the middle of the woods out here. So everything was meticulously thought out. And as you go into the venue, you're going to see these beautiful chandeliers that were handmade by Sea Island Forge. They hand hammered all the curves that you're going to see in the chandeliers, as well as they laid every single banister on the stair rail that gives you that beautiful dual entrance into the dining room from the two suites upstairs. So a lot of thought and care went into the property.
What you're going to see next is an incredible attention to detail and the ability to execute like few can.
So the deck is so large because we wanted to be able to incorporate seated a lot of people. So we can seat a total of 300 people. So the cabins are called Cedar Island because it is an island, separate from the rest of the property. The total number of cabins that we can have on the island is 29, give or take a few. But right now we only have six buildings, and we don't allow full vehicles to come back here. One, it provides for that ambiance that we're trying to set with being in the outdoors, but also it allows us to keep that road narrow. So you're getting that feel of coming into something that's not anywhere near the city. Every room here gets a golf cart assigned to them when they check in, and that is your means of transportation when you're on the property. So you'll park your vehicle up at the barn, you grab a golf cart and your keys to your room, and that's how you get around. We wanted you to feel like you were up in the trees. We wanted it to be very natural, the outside in, so we elevated these, one for FEMA, but two because of the aesthetic that it gives. I have people sometimes describe it as if they're in the middle of Jurassic Park, like they feel like they're walking into something that's in the middle of some island somewhere and not anywhere near civilization. So it's very unique. You kind of feel like you're in a tree house, completely elevated from the ground with all the natural growth still underneath. So I wanted to try and bring in a lot of the elements from our local area when picking materials to build one, for example, this fireplace. So I picked a tabby back and I chose to do large oyster shells, full-blown oyster shells instead of crushed tabby, so that way you get that full experience of the outside coming in. And then I also picked the Savannah brick because it is very local to the coast in its historical elements. And then a live edge mantle here that is also just another natural element that comes from the outside in. So that way everything just kind of flows. So when you're outside and you come inside, it's really not like you're coming inside, you're still outside. Everything kind of goes together. We set the kitchen up for a specific way. I didn't want to have a bunch of dining room tables in here, but I wanted there to be a spot where everyone could sit and gather together because this room is shared by all of the cabins collectively. So everything was done very meticulous. I made sure we utilized the space to its fullest potential. These cabinets here, they actually convert into, like this one converts into a coffee bar, and these retract for that purpose. And that one converts into can be a regular bar. So you can set up, we have a liquor license on premise, so we can set up a little mini bar here if the guests request it. And also if we wanted to have a bartender serve drinks to people that are enjoying themselves around the pool, those windows can fully open up and we can have them serving drinks out of the window. So each of the cabins are named after someone that had a significant role in developing the property. So for instance, Wiregrass is Wiregrass Studios, which is the architect that designed the property. With this particular unit, we built with the thought of families coming in. So this one is a Jack and Jill. In this room, you have a full-size bed, and we do have the option where we can put in a queen or king-size bed in here with a day bed. And then the other room has 2 twin beds that are pushed together to make a king bed, but they can be split apart into 2 twins. So that way, mom and dad are in here, and then the kids are in the other room. So that way we still get that separation. But we tried to pick colors and themes that complement the outdoors and cabin, just comfy, cozy feels. So we built a cabin that is still connected to all of these other cabins, but it is separated by its own bridge. So you have to take a separate bridge to go to what we call the creek, which is the honeymoon suite. It has its own living room, its own fireplace. It has a bathroom that I built. We designed the bathroom to feel as if it were in my home. So you feel comfortable and cozy when you're staying with us. So this is phase 1 of a much bigger plan. So we have a site plan for the whole property that accommodates for more cabins, more individual style cabins, and maybe a couple of clusters like this. But there is a site plan that this entire island here that we're on right now to be developed with cabins, except for the interior circle. So the interior circle would stay natural grown, and the cabins would run along the edge, so that way we had the view of the marsh from all the cabins. There is also site plans for a kayak launch right over here off of the cabins, as well as a skeet shooting range. So we have site plans for that as well. So this area was designed with weddings in mind, mainly. So you have a bride and a groom's suite here with a common exit. So you have that grand entrance in the event with a dual staircase coming down into the dining room for their introductions. So in the bridal suite, you have a full-size bar or wet bar with a sink, a mini fridge. We also have a hair and makeup prepping area with great lighting and tall chairs with low backs for your hairdressers. We chose natural colors in here, a lot of light colors, things that could go with any color scheme of a wedding. So if you have flowers that are some crazy color, they're still gonna look good in here because we picked very neutral colors to complement the colors of the wedding versus the colors of the room. There is areas for the gentlemen to get ready. We also kept in mind that another thing with this, the back deck coming off of the bride and the groom suite, is we realized people smoke cigars on their special day. So they have that area to go out there and have a glass of bourbon and a cigar as they're getting ready for their wedding and enjoy the time together. We also have, in the groom suite, you have a TV. So that way when it's football season, they don't miss their game. They can still watch their game as they're getting ready for their wedding. We also have a card table that comes in here. So if they wanted to play a game of poker or something like that, that is also available for them to do. The bathroom in here, we kept it very masculine. We did a custom built wood live edge vanity for the sink, and then just kept it traditional with the hexagon floors and the subway tile sides. I also wanted to make sure that these bathrooms were easily cleaned, so that's why we tiled not only the floors but also up the walls, so they're very easy to be cleaned. We even consulted vendors when we were designing the property to make sure that it included and could function the way they needed it to function for them. So we talked to photographers, caterers, wedding coordinators, just planners all together that do corporate events as well. We try to accommodate them so when they come to the property, they enjoy being here. They enjoy doing work out here because we've made it easy for them.
Catering is well known, with the most highly regarded caterers in the region at the helm. This is a very well-run professional operation. In fact, Corey actually lives and operates the resort from Charleston. The secret to a venue is a well-run behind-the-scenes operation. Again, something we see many places skimp on, but Corey does not.
The barn also houses our offices. So we have your check-in office. We turned the tack room into a check-in office because we weren't utilizing the barn as an actual barn. So it is where your guests come to check in and get their keys for their stay at Cedar Island, as well as seating area to meet with and consult about your events. And then our director's office is also in the barn as well. So a lot of people will have their rehearsal dinners here instead of having them at the main lodge because it's a lot more personal here than it is at the barn or at the venue with a large space. So there are 4 horse stalls inside the barn, as well as a hay loft that we currently use as kind of like a little reading nook, but it can be operational as a hay loft. Off the side of the barn, there's also another Sea Island forge, or a Sea Island forge kettle that can be used for cooking and things like that. And there are 2 horse paddocks off the front of the property that can be used either for a garden, for additional parking, or for actual horses to go and roam. One cool characteristic about the barn that's very personal to me is the cupola on top of the barn. Our architect happened to stumble upon, it was in his neighbor's yard, I believe, but it is actually the cupola from the top of the Waycross High School in Waycross, Georgia. And that is where my grandfather is from. So it was really cool to find that piece of history and be able to incorporate it in the design and the building of the barn. There's also a private residence on property. It can be utilized not only for private residence, but it could be utilized for additional lodging space. So it's a 3-bedroom home with 2 baths. And it also has a garage apartment that is a 1-bedroom, 1 bath with a full kitchen. So it just increases the amount of lodging space that you have and an ability for additional revenue coming in over there as well. So there is also an opportunity if you wanted to build the cabins out, the individual cabins, turning around and selling those to individuals, whether it's through a long-term lease like a 99-year lease, or just selling them outright and having them rent those out themselves as a short-term rental, and then you as the property owner of the community areas charging like a management fee or kind of an HOA type fee. That's an opportunity as well that could be used out here. That would still allow the property to operate as it's operating.
We represent a lot of venues and resorts, from the famed 4,000-acre Honey Lake, Woodbury Farms, to Black's Island. To be ultra successful, what they all share in common is that they excel at being able to monetize the lodging. In fact, when it comes to Black's Island, the ability to sell a 99-year lease on the 26 bungalows is what turned that into a $50 million property. What Corey created here in these Tidal Creek cabins and the template she's out for up to 29 goes above and beyond what even we expected. This opportunity is a game changer.
I appreciate it. Yeah, there was, like I've said a number of times, there was a lot of thought that went into this property and a lot of heart. There was no corners cut. I mean, I believe if we're going to do something, we have to do it the right way the first time.
What Tommy and Corey have created here is truly exceptional. The quality, the thought, the detail that went into everything here is something that even we rarely see. The demand has been proven, as they have done what few have, increased the extremely profitable corporate events while continuing profitable weddings. The staff is here, the caterer is world class. It's even operated by a management company, which is the dream of every business owner. The opportunity is here for someone to take this investment to the next level. The ability to expand the number of cabins up to 29 as part of the resort, or even sell them through a 99-year lease like nearby Jekyll Island or at Black's Island is a game changer. Either way, wealth is being created. Finding a property planned, built, and executed with such detail and perfection is every investor's dream. Finding a private 33-acre peninsula on an 18-foot deep coastal creek only a short ride under no bridges to the Atlantic is almost impossible. Having all of this located minutes from the wealth and prosperity of St. Simons, Sea Island, Brunswick, and Jekyll Island is the best location one could hope to have. Having all of this built and operational and then running it from another city is priceless. We hope you enjoyed this behind-the-scenes look at Cedar Lodge and you felt the passion that Corey and Tommy have for this land and the people they share it with. If you're looking for investment that you can oversee remotely, with an opportunity both to create cash flow and generate long-term wealth, all the while enjoying the lifestyle of Georgia's Golden Isles, it doesn't get any better than this.